Welcome everyone to this event to Accelerating Innovation in AI. We're going to start with a quick intro about Beeloud. We have a panel for discussion, asking questions from guests and speakers. We have networking sessions where you will be in breakout rooms, asking specific questions from each other, and then closing remarks.
All right, my name is Poria. I'm one of the co-founders of Beeloud and the managing partner. Co-create to bring your ideas to life. Our mission is to onboard the next generation of creators, and we'll get into the personas in a bit. Our vision is a little bit optimistic, but we do see a solar punk utopia where people and technology coexist in harmony. So think tall buildings with green trees everywhere and everyone's living peacefully. AI is helping you, and it's not cyberpunk, it's not a dystopia. AI is good, it's not bad. We are partnering with quite a lot of folks from tech partners, communities, startup communities, creator communities. Proud to announce Apollo, Zendesk, DocSend, Monday, F6S. All these great folks have tons of people in their community. We exchange collaborations either through events and workshops, co-hosting them, deals and offers for the community. Beeloud is part community, startup studio, accelerator, and we also host mini programs and hackathons such as Playground. And I'll just pass it on to Bahar to introduce the community a bit more.
Hello, everyone. My name is Bahar. I'm also co-founder of Beeloud. One of the important parts of Beeloud is the community. And we have people from creators, builders, and investors in our community. As Puri mentioned, creators is such a very vague name, but to make it more detailed, we are talking about designers, marketers, podcasters, content creators, AI artists, and YouTubers. And by builders, we're talking about founders, solo hackers, indie hackers, solopreneurs, developers, no-code builders. And by investors, we mean VCs, angels, accelerators. All of these people in our community can help each other and supporting each other. We are sharing their deals with our community members. For example, if you're a startup founder in our community, you have access to discounts, offers, sometimes 100% discounts to tools and apps from our partners. You have access to our exclusive resources that are mostly free guides and courses about AI, building startups, how to raise funds, and you will also have access to our VCs and investors. And this is the link. You can join our Discord because by the end of the event, this event, we will ask you to come and introduce yourself there, and we can better support you and connect you to the right resources. This is also our newsletter. It's for free, so don't forget to subscribe and have access to the news and ideas about AI. We previously had events online and in person. They were mostly about Web3 and introducing people to platforms such as Near, Ethereum, Polygon, and other Web3 tools. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Twitter.
Thank you, Bahar. So yeah, don't forget to hit that follow button, subscribe, and leave a comment below. This isn't a YouTube video, but it could end up to be one. Studio is where you team up to bring ideas to life. Say, for example, David joining us. He has an idea about an AI app, but he doesn't know how to code, or he's looking to build a team. And Nader is a really good developer. We pair up David and Nader, and Ashaya is a really good designer. The studio is where you can bring ideas to life, and we'll support you with all our might and power to take you from idea to product. You can be a studio founder or a studio contributor, depending on your personal goals. Studio founder is the one who typically has the vision, the idea, the perseverance to stay up all night, drink up all that coffee, and lead the team. Contributor is the person who does the actual work towards building the platform, finding the customers, and design stuff. Anything that an AI can do or anything that an AI can help them do, contributors can do that. You're welcome to apply to the studio if you want to work on ideas around AI, ML, VR, XR, AR, Web3, creator economy. We've had a few folks who are working on healthcare stuff, autism and disability. So lots of exciting initiatives to take on. Our previous background and expertise really relied on partnerships. So B2B partnerships, influencer partnerships, and that's where we could help a lot. But there are other cool benefits with joining Beeloud Studio that you can find out here and on the website that you all probably have access to. How does it work? You can apply as a studio founder, contributor. You go through the process, and if you're a good fit for us, and if we're a good fit for you, we can all start building together. And I'll pass it on to Bahar.
Our accelerator is trying to help your startup reach the global markets. We have a list of mentors in our network to have experiences in entrepreneurship, raising funds, helping people with growing their audience. Who can apply for accelerator? If you already have a startup, you're working on your MVP, and you need support for either raising funds or going to market or find your first 100 or first 1,000 customers, this is where we can help you. We ourselves have a lot of experiences with growing new startups and starting from 0 to 100. So we can provide you all of that experiences, resources. If you're in AI, your product is in AI Web3, you are in a creator economy, feel free to apply for Accelerator. We connect you to our investors, to the network of investors we know of. You have access to our mentors and perks up to 200K, our partners. For example, if you would like to start cold emailing people and you need a cool tool like Apollo, we can give you 80% discount for next 2 years, which will be great for a startup. Also, we can help you raise grants from our partners. You don't have to give out any equity. How does it work? You just have to apply, and we will go through your application, and after accepting you, we will send you an agreement, and then we can start working together.
Thank you, Bahar. Our next program is Playground, a 4-week hackathon/online game, specifically for online creators and digital first builders. The idea is that if, for example, Melody here has an idea about an AI app. She posted on LinkedIn, but only 2 people click on it. But say, for example, Charlie D'Amelio posts about it on LinkedIn, 100 people will click on it. So how can we give Melody super influencing abilities to have the power to be loud online and have her voice and story be heard? It's 4 weeks. We got speakers from your favorite creators, experts in the niche. There's a big grand prize attached to it. There is a quick application process, takes 2-3 minutes. You're welcome to submit a video if you want to be included in the intro videos and the demo day videos to be blasted out on all socials. Each week is themed. So we take you through the process of becoming a automated digital creator that you could actually make a living from this and work on what you're passionate about. And let's get started to accelerate innovation in AI together.
So please take 2 minutes, introduce yourself in our Discord channel, mention your background, your business, your title, and this way we can better know each other.
We'll just let Taylor prepare. She'll be coming up real soon.
All right. I think I'm sharing screen. I never know because I never know what platform I'm sharing on. So hopefully you can see it. Is it showing for you guys? Good. Okay. All right. Wow. Okay, cool. So thanks for having me. I'll introduce myself here in a second. I'm Taylor. I hope everyone's doing well, and thanks for attending this, and thanks for being here. Again, my name's Taylor. I'm going to show you guys some of just the daily kind of uses where I use AI pretty regularly in no-brainer ways. And again, it's pretty much a daily basis. And this is as a creator and a business owner. To give you a little bit of background on me, I'm Taylor. I co-founded a niche agency and media platform in 2022 called The Sauce. It's still going strong. And we're aimed at helping content creators, solopreneurs, and really anyone who's bootstrapping a social first brand learn the tricks of the trade to stand out, to create great content, to build a meaningful business online. So I spent the last like decade of my career working in agencies and working in enterprise organizations. And now I'm here to share all of the goods in my own business while co-oping that. So that's a little bit about some stuff I do on a regular basis. And I'm going to try to be quick about this presentation because there's so much that we could cover here today. And so I'm going to try to keep it very surface level. And when I communicate and collaborate with clients or people that I'm mentoring or founders that I'm working with, it still blows my mind how surface level we still are with AI and technology and these tools. And so I like to pull back the curtain and take like that big zoom out and let's look at the big picture. So we're doing a lot of these things as founders, as business owners, as marketers, as investors on a daily basis. It's a lot of the typical sales, marketing, business owner activities, things that you can expect. And for the majority of my career, all of these things have been a manual, time-consuming process until the last few years. Enter AI, which I think over really the last year and a half has just changed everything. And everything in this list that I do on a daily basis can be supplemented in some way, some capacity by AI tools. So I'm going to show you how. But first, I'm also going to talk about like why even use AI, because I get this question ironically a lot from family members, friends. They're like, okay, great, but I could just Google that. Sure. Totally. But tools like ChatGPT and large language models, and even some of the generative asset models like Midjourney and Dolly, are way more than I think most of us know that they're capable of. And we just saw that on the last slide, like that whole list of stuff we could knock out using some AI enabled technologies. This means tasks that would have taken hours to do, you can do now in a few minutes. You can free up that time for other work. Reducing expenses. Obviously, this is a huge one for me as a small business. When budgets are minimal, we don't have a lot of manpower. Large language models and generative image models can provide a really great baseline of work, which means not needing to hire for every little task, or in my case, purchasing like a new tool or a new subscription every time I need to do like a one-time thing. Oftentimes now AI can help with that. And then the last is that reallocation of effort, because if an AI is able to handle some of these routine things, it means that as a business leader can focus on areas that require a human touch, like building relationships or big picture planning or more subjective creative work. So I think the bottom line, at least for me, the takeaway is that these tools really enhance and optimize how you use your effort, and you can place it where it matters most. So I'll show you a couple quick examples. This one's really basic, right? But I get these emails all the time from people, and you might not be able to see exactly what it says. I don't know if it's big enough, but I get these emails that are like, hey, here's the feedback, Taylor, from that last creative delivery. I have all these notes. I have all this stuff. Can you do this? By the way, here's a link. And also here's 5 other notes that I'm going to add at the bottom of the email because it just makes sense. So I'm like, sure. Great. What do I need to do? So I literally take the entire email and I'm like, I could sit here and manually think through, okay, like, where's my process? What time and effort and things like that can I put into this? What are the deliverables? And let me measure it. Instead, I'm just like, let's chat GPT it. So I copied and pasted the entire email, asked it to give me a clear summary of the action items for me as the creative lead on this project. It was definitely a lot more than I could have expected. But then around the halfway point, right around here in this video, I was like, why now I know exactly what I need to do. Why not just write my reply for me to the client, back to the client? So it's just using this tool to compound and take the execution even further, because it already knows what we're talking about. It can therefore create a pretty crafty response. Boom, super easy, way more than I could have expected. Command C, Command V that into a new email. Boom, there's the response from the client. Thanks, Taylor. I don't even know if they knew that I was using AI for this, and I don't even know if they'll care. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But for me as a creative, it removes the headache and clarifies my list of deliverables and just streamlines that communication process. So that's just one kind of no-brainer example that I use definitely daily. And then the second one is going to be like creative development. So I was helping a client with a creative brief, and I really wanted to nail the like visual positioning of it. And it was for a product, a photography campaign. And so you can see an example here of like prompt styling of, and I'm not going to go too deep into that. You can get it to play the role. And in the past, I'd spend hours on Pinterest or Dribble or Google Images or Instagram, scraping the web as a creative director, trying to find swipe and creative references that I could bring to a client in order to communicate the creative vision. And so I had this idea in my head, and I'm like, I don't know exactly what that style is called. It's a high flash photography where it looks like it was created with a disposable camera, high contrast, high shadows. This is a very specific aesthetic. And for me, I couldn't come up with a name. So help me figure this out. So it comes back and it says, absolutely, the style you're describing is this. And then it goes on to provide me with a whole list of photographers. So I was like, damn, this is cool. And of course, I went and Googled them all and found some really good stuff. So I was like, let's take it one step further and actually identify what campaigns those photographers shot so I can pull swipe for this creative client so that I have a really buttoned up creative vision. So it gave me these exact campaigns, right? American Apparel, Marc Jacobs, Supreme, Vice Magazine, Diesel, the list goes on. And I was able to do it. This is what using that exact list, I pulled these down. Took me maybe like 10 minutes of just like scrubbing through and finding the right campaign images. But this entire process that would have taken me a few hours as a creative or art director on a project like this, a few hours is very conservative. It probably would have taken me a whole day. And so this is just another example of how that like process gets so streamlined. And obviously creative is subjective, and in like formal client settings, there's a lot of legwork involved, but for a quick concept like this, it's really hard to beat. So that's the second example. Third example is content repurposing, which is the bane of so many creators, marketers, business leaders' existence, which is finding ways to repurpose and reuse the content that you're already putting out there in the world so that you don't have to recreate it every time and still get a big impact on it, right? I write a weekly newsletter every single week, and I'm always delivering the tools and the tips and the news based on headlines. And it's definitely a curation process that used to take me a few days to do, because this newsletter has been around for about a year and a half now. And I was able to actually create a process, which I actually recently talked about on Twitter. So happy to connect with anyone who wants the custom GPT for this. But I created a process where I'm prompting the objective in order to get this content for my weekly newsletter, where I'm saying, here's the general style and the format. Here's the purpose of what I'm looking to achieve, which is I want to create these like really usable bite-sized news snippets, but I want to be able to do it at scale because I have 12 of them in a newsletter. No problem. The second step was just adding the examples of the context. This was so important in the process for getting the AI to understand what is it that you're trying to emulate. And then from there, it's just please rewrite a snippet in everything that we just talked about, but on this news. So then I pasted in a news article about Meta's Threads product or Threads app and some updates going on there. And it created like a near perfect snippet, not the exact same way I would write it, let's be honest, but very close to where it didn't require a lot of like editing and a little bit here and there, which I always suggest giving a human edit to these things. But just like that, taking an entire concept or a news story, distilling it down into a bite-sized piece of information that I can then repurpose throughout my content is just, it's again, hard to beat that efficiency. So those are the three kind of big buckets I would say that I use every day, every week. I wanted to throw in a quick little overview of this graphic that I designed of just a lot of the AI tools that I use and recommend to people and am familiar with in my sphere right now. It can look a lot different from somebody who maybe works in like enterprise organizations. Enterprise right now, that's a larger scale, but for content creation, marketing, business design, and really like bootstrap founder use cases, this is the stack that I use. And it's a tree map bubbling up to the entities that own them, because you got the big players up there. So that is pretty much it. I do have a creative toolkit. If anyone wants to grab that, you can scan the QR code. And that's just It's a full list into my Notion database where I keep all of these goodies and try to sprinkle them out into the world when I can. You can also subscribe to my newsletter if you want. I would love that. Every week, I send out all of the tips, updates, news, and the big stuff happening in the creator space. So a lot of that encompasses AI. Some of it encompasses what people creating on Instagram or YouTube need to know. So it's a good mix of all of it. And of course, find me on Twitter. My handle is SpaceCaseTay. So thank you so much. Happy to answer any questions as well.
Great presentation. I put the links to her Twitter, Substack, go subscribe, follow. Thank you so much. So our next expert is Prince, and he's here in the room. Thank you for coming, Prince, and the room is yours.
Of course, my pleasure. Let's do a quick mic check. I'm on my earbuds. Can you guys, earphones? Can you guys hear me? And can you see me properly also? Awesome. First of all, Taylor, are we on for Saturday?
Oh yeah,
We
it's
are.
happening. We're getting drinks. It's happening.
Okay. All right. Awesome. And Puria and everybody else involved at Beeloud, thanks a lot for having me. I am calling in from New York City on my phone at a tech event that is still happening. A close friend of mine was organizing at a VC office, and things were overlapping, and I didn't want to miss out on this. If you hear noise in the background and if the connection is not that great, I apologize in advance, but I am here. Let's rock and roll. There are so many things we can talk about. I can start a little intro about who I am and what I'm all about, maybe for 3 seconds, and then I want to hear what the group wants to hear more based on my experience and what I am capable of talking to you guys about. My background is film and music. I started my career as a musician. I got signed to Virgin Records, EMI Music, back in 2005. Toured around the world. It was awesome. And then I went to film school, was in the movie industry for about 10 years. I wrote, directed, art directed, and was a cinematographer on over maybe 100 different productions. That was also great. I was between LA, Vancouver, and New York City. I actually went to school in Vancouver. I went to Vancouver Film School. And it was a great time. It was a great time. I miss it. I wish I could come back and hang out. And then gradually my film career morphed into agency world, similar to Taylor's background. And I started a design agency called The Agency of Creative New York. Super long name, but we just wanted people to call us The Agency. And you know what? It worked. So the agency has been around for 7-8 years almost. And then as of 3 years ago, I started another company called Brand Melody, which specializes in the music industry. That's a lot longer than 3 seconds that I said I was going to talk about myself. So let me just dive into what I can potentially provide as a value to you guys here today. And my guess is that most of you are founders or aspiring entrepreneurs that are here to be a part of an accelerator, Beeloud, which I think you guys are doing a great job, by the way. As of earlier this year, I retired from the agency world and I decided to dip my toes in the AI scene. And I started learning how to read code, how to write code. I started learning about APIs. I started learning about automations, and I started learning about what it takes to build a development team and build a product. And I learned very fast, and we had to, because when the AI revolution happened, somewhere between late February and early March, my team and I at the agency, we were looking at how can we leverage AI similar to what Taylor has been trying to do in our advantage. How can we get shit done faster? How can we use it to get ahead? And we tried all kinds of different ways to conduct a strategy frameworks using ChatGPT or create various assets on different platforms for our clients, but nothing was cutting it. And I got frustrated. And I said, you know what? Why don't we go ahead and build the world's first AI-assisted strategy design and innovation platform, where an agency or a consulting firm can download all of their knowledge about what they know about the strategy world and design and innovation into our platform, train the model, create their own framework, and off they go. keep rocking and rolling. So with that, we also added a whiteboard, we added documents creation, we added a place where you can reflect, just type away and the words wipe off the screen, and then there's music in the background. It's for reflections, and many other little different mini apps that we've created. A cohesive platform where agencies and creators and entrepreneurs can dump all of their ideas, validate it through our studio, and then strategize it through the firm part of our app. And of course, there's a community aspect to this where every single agency owner or consulting firms or CEO or founder, whoever is becoming a part of our community, will have a chance to intermingle and talk and exchange thoughts and ideas with everybody else. I hear a lot in the industry, in the tech industry, in the startup space, and that is the concept of product market fit, or it's why startups fail. And there are so many various different statistics that you can look at, and articles written about, here is 10 reasons why startups fails, or here's 20 reasons why this thing didn't work out and didn't become a unicorn, and it had every opportunity to do. I've looked into this extensively, and I've probably talked to over 100 founders. And throughout my career, I have branded over 200 companies. That means I was one of the first people that helped them shape their dreams from the get-go. When they had an idea, they had registered the company as an LLC or an incorporation or whatever, and they wanted a face and a voice and a character to their company. I was that guy. I have been that guy for the last 8 years. Given my experience working with entrepreneurs from scratch, and also entrepreneurs specifically in the tech scene, there is one thing I've noticed: the difference that between the ones that succeed and the ones that they don't is only one thing. And I'll go to the Supreme Court to argue this, okay? All the way. It's called having a purpose. What does that mean in concrete terms? It means that you have come into agreement with who you are. You've come into agreement with what your company is all about, why does it matter, and what it is that you do. Is called the focus questions. 3 questions. What do you do? Why does it matter? And most founders, they miss out on this. Most founders, they are so busy and heads down, especially the ones that come from a technical background. Their aura, their power, their forte is when they sit behind their computers and start coding away. And they do that for far too long most of the time. And they create a product which is good. It's good. They wrote clean code, modular, fantastic code, 0 bugs and everything. But they missed out on knowing, why are you doing this? And how are you going to get this out there? So that's when you need to speak to a strategist. That's when you need to speak to an advisor. That's when you need to look inward and understand, what are you doing? Are you building a feature or are you building a brand? That's the difference. So I want to go back to product market fit. The term product market fit is super misleading. You're not building a product. A product is finite. A product is something that people will move on from. What they don't move on from is a brand, is a company that will gracefully waltz past the creators. It's a company that will go on for generations to provide value, or will gracefully close down their doors when they achieve their purpose. Understanding what is your purpose, what is your company's purpose, and finding your founder and aligning that together, that's the winning goal. Find out why you're doing this. What kind of a brand are you making or creating? Don't get so obsessed with one single problem. Become obsessed with solving a magnificent problem, a problem that most of the world has faced, but nobody found a solution to it. And then start from there. And I can tell you guys how strategists do this. One of the tactics to do that is to sit down and write an obituary about your company. I'm not kidding. Write down an obituary about your company and imagine how your company has closed down its doors 40 years from today, and then work backwards. And then once you do that, you will realize the potential that's within you, the potential that's within your team, and the potential of your dreams. And then you will realize what kind of a company you're actually making. Are you solving a general problem or a specific problem or a temporary problem? All those questions will come out of that. Of course, there are several more steps involved into how to come up with your vision statement and mission statement and goals and whatnot, but think about building a company or a startup in a more cohesive way, in a more holistic way. That's all I can leave you guys with today.
Thank you, Prince. Wonderful talk. Lots of wisdom to take away. Love the hat. Thank you for bringing it to the talk. A really good addition to it. It adds the whole branding and the credibility. So let's just move on to the roundtable panel. We got another guest speaker for our panel, Sam, and I'll pass it along to Bahar to start the panel.
Hi, Sam. Can you please introduce yourself?
Yes, sure.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sam Kamani. Just to give a bit of a quickly, I would love to give you guys all a background about me and what I do. So last 18 years or so, I have been involved in tech startups. I've been early in pretty much nearly every different tech. I was doing Google AdWords and e-commerce in 2003, back when all these things didn't exist. I built my first company and first brand around in e-commerce, and I sold that in 2015. After that, I built an esports startup, which was like a SaaS product, but to run esport competitions, and that got acquired. That was in San Francisco. That got acquired in 2018. And after that, I've been running different podcasts. I've written books on tech startups, and I speak at events frequently. And recently, over the last 3 years, I have been advising multiple startups and multiple venture funds. And I currently work with 2 different funds, one of them as a venture partner. It's called 3X Capital, where we invest in pre-seed and seed stage startups. And yeah, so that's about me. I'm always looking for new interesting ideas and interesting startups, as I'm responsible for bringing in deal flow to a couple of different funds. So yeah, so that's about me. Looking forward to any questions you guys have in on the AI side of things. I talk with lots and lots of founders in this space. I've interviewed over 200 founders, including people like Vitalik, the founder of Ethereum, Yatsu, the founder of Animoca Brands, and many others. So yeah, looking forward to the roundtable and the discussion.
Thank you so much. We'll start asking some questions from Sam, Taylor, and Rumi. If anyone from the audience has any questions, feel free to ask that. So the first question is, it's a very common question any entrepreneur would ask. How should they find their first 100 customer? And how we can make that faster and better with AI?
I might kick it over to Rumi because that's a pretty loaded question. I will just say that I think like the principles and like the underlying foundation of what makes a good business, especially like right now in this day and age that we live in, aren't changing. And I think that there's a level of, Rumi, you mentioned something earlier of like the purpose, the mission, the drive, and having those things aligned, because your business will fail to acquire any new clients if they're not, or any new business, I should say. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, Rumi.
You hit the nail right in the head. And look, I always ask people when I first meet a founder, my first question is, and they give me the spiel. What do you, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm building. My first question is, do you come from a physician? Have you been a physician? Can you guys see me?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yeah, we got you.
Okay, awesome. And if somebody is doing a fintech app, I always ask, do you come from a finance background? And for the most part, the answer is yes. And that's a very safe place to be. If you come from a world that you spend a fair amount of time, they say usually about 7 years, you have experienced the pains and the gains of that industry. And you have come to a conclusion, whether it was a 3-step epiphany process or some orgasmic event that happened in your life that led you to find this jewel, this unmet need of the society, that you are providing a solution to it. That means that you probably at least know 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 people that have the same problem because you come from that world. So when your founder DNA matches your purpose and matches your goal, you're already halfway there. Instead of trying to do something, dip your toes in uncharted territories in the worlds that you have no experience in or you don't understand it, then now you're in the cold zone. And you know what? The worst place to be in is a cold zone. I've never done it. And there might be some cold callers in this call. I don't know. I don't want to offend nobody. But I have higher respect for other kinds of people. When it comes to the hierarchy of respect for people in my life, cold callers are not in the top three. So automatically you are in a position when you at least know 20 to 30 people within your industry, your colleagues and your peers that you've grown your companies with, that you can call and you say, hey, I experienced this problem. I found a solution for it. I'm walking away from my day-to-day, which is X, Y, or Z, and I'm now going to work on this solution. Can I talk to you to validate that this problem also exists in your company? And you do that in your customer discovery process at least 50 times. They say that's the magic number. So there you go. Your first 50 people during your customer discovery process are your first 50 clients. Because if they actually have the same pain, they're going to turn around and say, oh, you know what, Rumi, when you solve this problem, when you build that product, call me. I want to be there because the pain is universal. They feel it. And guess what happens? Community-driven growth. You bring all those people. They say the best way to build a community is to put 10 people in the same room with the same problem that you know, but they don't know. And then you turn around and with a prompt, what are you guys are struggling with the most? And guess what? They're all going to raise their hands and they're all going to have the same problem and they're all going to pretty much talk about the same thing. That's a community.
Exactly. Totally agree with the power of community. Is the only thing that can help all the startups to go from 0 to 100. And that's a great point. How about you, Sam?
So yeah, I've got lots to say about this. And this is something that I have seen this pattern when it comes to founders who are successful. And in initial stages, this is something that they all do. And that is they do things that don't scale. And what I mean by that is that they do things manually, they target a very, very small niche, they do things which are not automating. In fact, you don't want to automate because you want the learnings from those early customers. You have to go out there, you have to solve problems. Basically, the bigger the problems you solve, the easier the selling the first 100 customer gets. Sometimes it's because your product is not solving anything and people are just being kind to you. When you are asking them, doing your survey, getting feedback, they just say, oh yeah, that's fine, I'd buy it. But when you do really ask them, when you do try to close the sale, they disappear. That means you do not have product market fit. And when you don't have product market fit, there is no point automating. No amount of AI can help. I will go on the AI side of things as well, how we do use AI. I will show, as most of you are aware of the custom GPTs that came out. So I created a custom GPT immediately 2 or 3 days ago to help to how to get funding. And so I created my own custom GPT on that. So I'll show that. I'm happy to give a demo on that. But first thing, do things that don't scale. So do things really manually. That means getting out there, talking to people one-on-one and solving problems. That's the fun thing. And that's the first thing. Also, it is quite time consuming initially. So yeah, and the main thing is that you will get to learn from people's expressions when you're talking with them. Do their eyes light up when I talk about this solution to their problem, or are they just being polite? And that way you get product suggestions as well to continue to improve your product. So yeah, so that's the first one of the example I'd like to give, is that like doing things that don't scale is, if you look at any of the products that we use, they looked very different in their early stages. Whether it was Facebook, it was just for 1 or 2 universities, as in to be used only for those customers. It was not built for 5 billion people or 2 billion people or anything like that. It was for a very small niche audience. Even Amazon, that sells everything now, for the first 4 years, it only sold CD. So only sold books. They didn't even sell CDs. All their competitors like Barnes and Nobles and Borders bookstores, they all sold CDs, DVDs, other things. Amazon didn't touch anything else until they got complete dominance in the books area before they became AWS and before they became all these like 500 other categories. So that's the first thing. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, can I chime in there? Because you just explained something that's super close to my heart, and I talk about it all the time. So the purpose statement for Amazon is to become the world's most customer-centric company. And it doesn't say to sell books or to sell shower curtains or whatever. It says to be the world's most customer-centric company. So what they did, they picked books. They picked one item to serve that purpose, and they did it very well. They through repeatable processes, and they did things that didn't scale, like you mentioned, and until they got it right. Once they got it right, once they knew how to sell books online in the most centric way, human-centric way, then they start to scale. Then they start to move it to the next items. All right, now let's save soap. Now let's sell soaps. Now let's sell whatever, all kinds of different things. Toothbrush for your hair.
Yeah, but once you have got a repeatable process, you can easily create a custom GPT to help you with that. I have my own database that I have given to and created a custom GPT where just like founders raise money, VCs raise money from LP. So it goes to a data set and finds the contact details of ultra high net worth individuals, family offices, limited partners, and so on. And if you want, I can show you right now, share screen and show you if you'd want, but maybe we should wait for other questions. And then if you've got time, I can show you a demo.
Also, please put the link down in the chat so we can.
Oh yeah, I'll just put the link down and people can check.
Yeah, thank you so much. For the next question is about AI generated content, images, music. For example, Taylor, you're a creative director. Would you yourself use AI generated images and content for branding materials, for ads, for campaigns? And the question is, who has the ownership of that? Or who can share it with? What is the line?
Yeah, no, I'd love to take a stab at that one. Definitely on I won't go too deep on the ownership and the copyright issues, because that in itself is just, it's a huge web that, as this world that we're living in right now evolves with the legal restraints against AI and the things that are allowed, it's murky waters still. But I will say that absolutely would use for campaign creative. And if you think about a lot of the ways that campaigns are developed, even pre-AI, very manually, and many of them still are, they utilize a lot of creative processes that still automate certain elements of it. And so while generative fill might not be a thing for a high-end retouching studio a few years ago, they're certainly using compositing from other imagery and from other creative. And so I think that's not really the difference. I think a lot of it is that the public perception of something being very clearly AI versus not being AI generated as in terms of creative assets. So with any use case of AI where you're publishing assets that have some form of artificial intelligence or generative element, it's always, number one, important to make sure that you understand the implications of what you're creating and whether or not there's issues with artist theft and all kinds of challenges under the hood there. But understand like what it is, that kind of like the space that you're working on, especially if you're going to market with some creative and it's going to be a larger scale campaign. Usage rights around copyright could be an issue if you are using an artist's work, for example, as part of your prompting. And there's been some legal cases around that already. But certainly, I think it's a no-brainer in terms of creative scale and efficiency for teams. And I can't wait to see it at an agency level expand, at a global agency level where teams are fully embracing and leaning into AI. Because I know in the commercial production world right now, it's this like big elephant in the room of people understand that it exists, but there's a lot of artists that are very hesitant to work with it and understand how this can really make the process more efficient and make your productions, your outcomes actually better. And so I think it's all about finding that balance, understanding the playing field, and then getting a lawyer if you're going to publish some multi-million-dollar campaign using AI. That's all.
Thank you, Taylor. Thank you. What do you think about?
I don't think there's anything I can add to that. I think Taylor laid it out really nicely. And the reason the term co-pilot exists now in the AI world is to make humans with large egos feel a little bit better about themselves when they want to create anything, right? Because they want to think like AI is not doing it all for them. It's just a co-pilot. You're still in the driver's seat. You're still flying the plane. This is just your co-pilot. And you know what? Some people, they cross the line. The lines gets a little bit blurry for them. They let AI do everything for them, and they just take the backseat. And then some people, they actually use it as a co-pilot. And those ones are the ones that will succeed. Those people are the people that will get ahead in this AI age. They say garbage in, garbage out. That's true. What does that mean? It means that just because ChatGPT has all the knowledge in the world, you can't go and become a doctor anymore unless you have the charisma of Leonardo DiCaprio in the movie Catch Me If You Can. It's not going to happen. Okay, it's not going to happen. You still have to dip your toes in areas where you have some authority, and now you're using AI to expedite and go deeper and enhance your understanding and enhance your knowledge about all of that. Whether it's creating images or music or writing stories or doing a strategy, one of the most complex things that's out there. So yeah, go for it. I am a big fan of AI. I think AI is going to save humanity. I think I think open source communities should push as much as they can in order to make sure that it's not controlled or it's governed by big corporations or big government. Let's not get political. I stop right there.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jimmy. How about you, Sam? Do you have anything to add?
No, I don't have anything to add, but I've been looking at all the questions at the same time in the chat, and there's so many questions, and then there's a lot to add there. Yeah, let me know which question you'd want me to answer, or go ahead.
Can I just add one more thing too before we move in? Or I don't know
Sure,
if we're moving
definitely.
into questions
definitely.
yet, but right now I think it's really important for everyone in here to understand that, like, right now at this moment, AI and its capabilities are the worst that it's ever going to be. Like, it's only going to get exponentially better from here. And so we live in this really like weird intersection of time where it seems like it's been a long time, or at least for those of us who have been in the generative AI world for a while now. Like, when is it going to get better? When are we going to stop seeing 7 fingers generated on someone's hand? Or like, when am I finally going to be able to nail my exact writing style word for word? And if you look at just the progress that's happened over the last year and that exponential growth of this industry, right now we're at this like weird like space where it's only going to get better. And so I think with the question that you asked of like how AI is going to play a role in creative and like publishing content, there is going to be a time very soon in the coming months, if not years, that you won't be able to tell the difference between something that's AI generated and something that's human created. And so I think that's a big consideration of whether or not people are for or against AI. This train is moving in that direction where it's going to continue. So I think at this point for creatives, the big consideration is how do we embrace that and make it a natural part of what our skill set already is to enhance and further that. So just wanted to add that piece.
Fourth.
Yeah, thank you so much. The next question is multiple choice. Who owns the copyright to an AI generated image? Is the prompter, model maker, or artist data?
So yeah, I can share something about this.
Sure.
So this is such a subjective question because it depends in the industry and it depends on the jurisdiction. So what happens is that the technology always moves faster than regulation. So the regulation is not out there, it is not clear, and we are still building things in a fairly unregulated environment. There is no clear-cut regulation out there on who owns the art because it's not inspired from one art style, it's inspired from 1,000 different artists and 1,000,000 different works. So which one should be attributed to? There are already, when it comes to writing, there are already quite a few platforms there where you have to accept in the terms and conditions that the book that you are uploading, it's not AI written, and then they already have AI checkers that check for the work is plagiarized by AI. And then there are now other AI to combat that, so that it helps you write books and write content that can escape that or evade that checking. So it is like a tech war in a way. And so it is a very gray area at this stage. But over time, countries will develop guidelines around this. But yeah, go ahead, Rumi.
Yeah, first of all, yeah, thanks for that. I think you're 100% right with that, and I'm with you. We are in uncharted territories, regulators, governments, companies, everybody's trying to figure this whole thing out. But at the end of the day, they're going to come into one conclusion, and that is AI is a utility. A utilitarian item is something that we use every day, and nobody can question your usage of it. And by that, nobody will say, hey, you used Google Chrome as a browser to crack open a Google Doc to write this book. This Google might have some rights over this. Or nobody says that you use electricity in the room that you sat and then you wrote that thing. Tokens, OpenAI, everything that all these large language models are offering right now is going to become a utilitarian item, and it's going to become a part of our lives. At the end of the day, if you can defend the art or the piece that you've created with AI, that's yours 100%, and you are the owner of that. And the same thing has happened for the last 5,000, 7,000 years, however long humans have lived and created art. An art becomes your art. You become a professional artist when two things happen. One, you create an art. Two, you make it vulnerable to criticism. You put it out there. That's when you become a professional. You're trying to sell it and you make it open to criticism. And when you do that, you need to defend it. You go to interviews, you talk to all kinds of different people. They ask you questions about, hey, why did you create this? What inspired you? You have to be there with you. Your art never leaves you. Same thing with AI. If you created a piece of art with AI, you got to be able to defend it. And if the more you are able to defend it, it means the more you understood what you were doing using that utilitarian tool in order to create this art. So the closer you are to it, the closer are your rights to that. And people will believe it. People will buy it. And then they were like, oh, this guy just used a tool to create this. Fine. But if you have no attachment to it, it sounds or smells or feels more like plagiarism, and people will reject it.
Thank you so much. What do you think there? Who owns it? Who owns the art?
Oh, okay. All right. We're going there again. All right. I think that I'll add two things because I want to like piggyback off of what Sam just said on like practical tips, because I have a really good one I want to share. But in terms of ownership, I think that it's such a blurry space. And I know that the US Copyright Office issued a statement in September. Yeah, either like August or September, saying that any copyright law does not protect any works not created by a human, because there's been many cases that have already gone through the court circuits trying to get copywritten a stamp of copyright on their creative works or on their whatever it is that they're doing, and it's gotten slapped down time and time again. And finally we got this like issuance a couple months ago of does not protect non-human generated work, which then goes back to the philosophical question of, if I am a human and I feed the AI my knowledge, whose work is it really? And so I think it is quite like a blurry area that I think, and back to Sam's point about this being very unregulated right now, nobody really knows. And at this point, it's the Wild West. People can claim things as their own, but probably in terms of like official legalese, you won't get a copyright stamp on something that you create using AI, at least right now. Things are changing rapidly though. So just to circle back then on my second point about a tactic or a tip, and I should probably just link it after I say this. I'll link it here in the chat. But like a few months ago, I don't know if you guys remember when Code Interpreter dropped on ChatGPT, and everyone was like, oh my God, this is so cool, because you can write code with it and you can upload data sets and you can upload spreadsheets and excuse me, and do all kinds of cool stuff with this, interact with the GPT on a different level. And so one of the things that I did and tried to like coach other people to do as well, who this really is a tactic that works well if you already have some sort of a foundation, followers, audience, people that want to listen to you. You just don't know how to connect with them from a content, maybe a messaging, how you position yourself to them. And so what I did was this example with a tool that I use. Any CRM can work, but Tweet Hunter, which I use for Twitter X as like an analytics and CRM tool, you can export your entire follower list off of there. And I think you can export entire lead, like just curated lists and other people's followers lists and things like that. So you can take any sort of CRM data set that you have and feed it into ChatGPT. And what I had asked for was a set of commonalities, right? Like I have a few thousand people that follow me and want to hear from me, but I want to make sure that I'm creating really targeted content for those people so that when the time comes and they want me to help solve a problem for them, they know who to talk to. So I want to talk to those people, but I don't really know who they are. So I took this entire follower audience export, fed it into ChatGPT code interpreter at the time, and got some really great results just based on bio description. So when we talk about like in the marketing world, like identity resolution, who are the actual people that are buying from you? Who are the actual people that are following you and listening to you and showing up for you? So getting a good way to understand that was throwing it into code interpreter through ChatGPT, getting a matrix for some of the commonalities, and even created some graphics and charts for me saying 80% of your audience has content creator in their bio. That wasn't an actual stat, but it really drove some insights home for me. So that's just a tactic for really content strategy and thinking about how to utilize the resources already available to you, like your audience, if you already have one, your email lists, if you already have them, to just create more targeted content offers and messaging directly to those people that's going to give a higher chance for them to convert when the time comes.
Thank you, Taylor. That was actually really useful. And that was very new. I've never heard of that, to do it in this way and try to analyze your followers. Thank you. Corey asked, what are some non-scalable ways to find your first or next 100 customers? I think Rumi mentioned about non-scalable ways.
There isn't. There is no non-scalable way. And if you found one, it means you're going to go out of business within the first year. Look, there are no shortcuts. It takes 10 years for an overnight success. Okay. If you're in it for quick money, you better go rob a bank, because you either are in love with solving a universal problem for the world, or you just want to get rich and go buy a sailboat and go disappear in sunset. A lot of founders, unfortunately, they have that mentality, and that's why they fail. That's why 90% plus of startups, they fail. And they come up with these long lists. I talked about it earlier. Long lists of why startups fail, because if founders didn't get along, product market fit, there isn't enough this or of that. No, it's because they cut around corners. They were not in love with solving the problem. They didn't have a purpose, and that was it. Oh, okay. Puriya says, are they though? I think so. I from the number of founders I've talked to, from what I have studied and from I've seen, look, brand strategy is something that you need to be cognizant of from the earlier stages. But statistically speaking, startups that have raised a seed round is when they start hiring an agency to help them with their brand strategy. That's way too late. That means you're already a 20-30% team. And if you're a 20-30% team and you still haven't had a brand strategy, and your cousin designed your logo, and you listen to your VCs for advice and strategic advice, it means your internal company culture is weak and people are not getting along. It means people are not working hard enough because they have no attachment to the company, because they don't know what the purpose of the company is, because you never defined it for them, and so on and so forth.
For the first 100 customers, so I just wanted to share some practical things that you can do. Of course, the first thing is that you use your personal network. Second thing is that example I'd like to share is of DoorDash. So what DoorDash did is that they were in university, they were all students themselves, so they just created like pamphlets. They posted it in their university notice board that, hey, if you want food, just call us. And then they would have the mobile phone, and sometimes it'd be in the class, their phone would ring, and then they'll run out of middle of their class in their old beat up car, like a $800 car. They would run around and buy the burger and chips and deliver it and then come back to the class. So they just did like really manual stuff. The thing is that if you're building a product, you know that industry, where the people who have that problem hang out, so where that community is. So you go to that community, be part of that community, talk to them, and do that one-on-one. There are some exceptions where people have done when they're creating an online trading product or something like that, and they have created just like AdWords worth $100 or $10 worth of Facebook ads just to test out, just to see if there is even a demand for what they're building. Yeah, but all done.
Sure. Thank you so much, Sam. That was really valuable. I think Rumi has to leave. Any last thoughts?
I apologize, guys. I'm actually, they're closing down. The VC office that I'm at, they're closing down, and they've been working since 7 a.m. I believe. I just don't want to keep them waiting any longer. Thank you so much for having me. This was awesome. Let's do this again. Taylor, I will see you Saturday. Puya, get in touch. Sam, you rock. And everybody else in the room, get in touch. If you ever wanted to talk to me, they're open invitation. Feel free to reach out on Twitter, send me a DM. I'm happy to hop on a call or just write back or share anything I can with you to help you out with your career. And perhaps at some point you can help us out. You guys are awesome. Thank you for putting this together.
Thank you, Prince Rumi. Pleasure to have
Rumi.
you. You walk safely home. It must be a little bit scary at the night, but take care. Thank you for coming.
All right, cheers, guys.
Thank you, Taylor. Thank you, Sam. If anyone has any questions right now, feel free to jump in, turn on your mic, ask them. Or if you want to be in a more closer, intimate room, we could just rotate it as you guys could move around and people could pick a room that you're in. Is it?
Sure.
Just so you're not staring at a blank screen. And I know you probably have a lot to talk about. The guests could introduce themselves. Something to take away from this meet to be worth your time. And I also won't participate in the meeting, so it'll be fun. What can you help with? It can be anything, either networking, content, VC intros. Taylor's great AI guide. Go check it out. Secondly, what do you need help with for your business / personally? Is it like to learn how to use AI in your life, in your business? Exchange contacts, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, whatever you're active on, and pick just some small thing you would collaborate on. It doesn't have to be like, hey, let's get together to form a startup. It could just be like, hey, Taylor is doing a space this weekend or tomorrow, and I'd like to hop on it. Let's do an Instagram post. Sam knows someone in 3X Capital. Could you make an intro? So just something small that you could take away, and the rooms are yours, and spread out.
Sounds good.
It's very interesting. There's still lots and lots of new projects out there, but just looking at the data, because I do look at the data, and one of the interesting thing that around what you were saying, all the freelance jobs on Fiverr and Upwork and all that, they're falling off the cliff because people are doing so much stuff themselves that all these menial things that people used to outsource to, whether it is content writing or doing editing of videos or whatever minor things, that they're doing it themselves now using AI. So I completely agree. So that's why a lot of people are going through that soul searching, that, what is going to do.
Yeah, that, and I don't know if you guys follow Stack Overflow. It's probably one of the first companies to be literally heavily impacted by AI, and they're dying every day. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
What was it called?
Stack Overflow.
Yeah, it's called Stack Overflow. It's this one company where a bunch of us would go in, somebody would ask a question, we would answer it with a code or help people out. But now everybody just goes to ChatGPT or Copilot or Cursor. So we don't really need Stack Overflow, and I think they're slowly obsolete right now.
Wow.
With that, I think there's another question asked in the overall session. What jobs do you think, from your experiences, that are going to be AI resistant? Because for example,
Blue collar jobs. It's like no changing your plumber, Because like what people don't realize is that so much of our brain goes to movement. It's to even just to learn to walk takes us 2 years of day and night practice. We don't do anything, and that's when your brain is growing the most. And even in creatures in like sea creatures, when there are some sea creatures, when they attach themselves to rock, the first thing they do is they digest their brain, because all their brain was used was in movement. So movement takes a large part of our brain, and that's why it's a lot harder to create robots that can move around in your house freely, like bipedal robots, than it is to create a content writing machine or something like that. So it is completely the opposite. We used to think that it is the creative jobs that would be last to be automated, but now it's the creative jobs that would be first to be automated, and anything manual labor. You want a plumber, you have to get someone. I don't see it will take us another 25 years before we have a robot that can come in your house and do plumbing or do welding or something like that. So it is the blue collar jobs that would be last to be automated.
Yeah, and my opinion is because my background in data science and machine learning, I feel like pretty much every job in the world will be AI assisted. If
Yes.
you're a teacher, you will be AI assisted. If you're a therapist, you will have an AI, some sort of an assistance. If you're delivering some food, you will have optimization on how to deliver that. Of course, at a very core level, a job of a plumber would not change, but he might have glasses that he wears when he's trying to fix something that says, okay, fix this here, because AR, VR will get implemented together. So those kind of things will happen. So pretty much everything I feel will be AI assisted. And I was having fun with Poria in chat, where I was saying emotional intelligence, jobs that require emotional intelligence and intellectual inference, like especially the job of a therapist or a doctor. These jobs are only going to be more important, because you cannot just expect an AI to do that. An AI can talk.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I would challenge that.
Mhm.
I think AI would be better at reading human cues and emotions than most people would be.
No, that's not
Because
what I
it is
meant.
just data. It is
Yeah,
just data. Just
yeah,
taking
no, that's not what I meant. AI will do that great. I'm not saying that. But to deliver that final result, it still needs a human being, in my opinion. And also, say, take a job of a sales engineer or a salesperson. To sell something, you can get anyone to make a pitch
Yeah.
for you, deliver it. But at the end of the day, a salesperson, when or you as a VC are having a conversation with somebody across the table, there needs to be a connection between two people to say, hey, man, I believe in you.
100%.
So
It's
those
like my
jobs are not going to
personal,
go.
yeah. My personal network is my net worth. So anyone with a
Yeah.
personal network is really hard to replace.
Yeah, and that's what I feel. I think that's the direction in which pretty much everything is going. And one of the things that I noticed on Beeloud here is a lot of people are talking about apps and small businesses, but there is enterprise level scale businesses that people are building, software that's happening in open source. That is way crazy. Check it out.
Yeah, open source is the way to go.
Ashar, you talked about I didn't capture it a bit. Would you mind sharing a bit?
For sure, yeah. What our company does is we help people with dietary restrictions find food. So as part of that, what we have to do is we analyze food items, and then we will tell you what the nutritional content is, what allergens are contained in that, and all of our models and all of our data structured around really knowing what's in a food. So we want to take food and break it down to all its constituents. That's what we're working on.
Makes sense. Thank you, Ashaya, Brian, David. It's like we had a mini roundtable here as well. I just wanted to close up today's session. Thank you all for coming. Luma, the event platform you came through, will send an event survey. It'll certainly help us to improve these events and workshops and make them more targeted. For example, if we see that there is a high interest in how to use AI to make content, we'll just do a specific workshop on that to help people like David, creators like Taylor, to come in and tell, hey, this is how we use AI to draft blog posts, to repurpose content. Or if it's like Melody, if you want to hear more about people in wellness, people from founders, we could structure a workshop around that. So don't forget the survey. Share just 1 line, 2 lines about what you learned from this event. It could be something new about AI, something about yourself, your business, a revelation, new thought. Something I took away was the obituary that Rumi mentioned. It was quite interesting to write down like how you would talk about your startup maybe when it dies. So feel free to post it on LinkedIn, tag Beeloud. If you don't like to put it on socials, just tell a friend, because I want to say we're early into AI. Maybe we're not, but it would certainly help someone else to learn what you learned today. Don't forget to follow us on socials. We'll have more events. We're looking to collaborate more with all of you to bring you on as future speakers, attendees, partners, and just have you in our community. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you all.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Ashaya,
everyone.
Sam, Mary, Brian,
Thanks.
Melody.
Nice
Thank
to
you
meet
so
you all.
much.